Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a teamfight tactic guide for the items and item selections. This guide is more tailored towards beginner players. Here we'll explain something basic, something that may be common to veteran players, but we'll also share some insights as I discover them as I play. We have progressed to almost platinum in about 4 days time since I started TFT, and I really like the game. I think items is a really good way to start things off, because you pick a build by selecting the items you have, and by tailoring items for the units, your units become super strong. Even 5 or 10 times stronger. Say someone like Zed who duplicates infinite times, or Alchemist with Singed who poisons units. So to start things off, there are 9 basic items if you look at it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the 9 basic item combines into the other items. There's also one special item called the Necro's Help, which can be found in all kinds of jobs. It's a really good item that's like a wild card. It allows you to duplicate an existing unit. What you can do is use it to find a 3-star golden unit, or use it for a tier 4, tier 5 legendary unit. Now, it might be a little overwhelming looking at this table, and I'll be sharing this table with you guys. Some of the table will be out of date next week because there will be new units and balance changes. But before that, this table is a good way to start. If you have a comp with a carry, say Renekton, you'll be like, hey, Renekton is pretty good with Phantom Dancer. Let's say Alchemist or Zed, they're pretty good with it because it's defensive item. And here, if you look at the tiers, it goes from tier 5 to tier 1. So you want to get the top tier items, but as I discovered when I first started this game, I realized it's too overwhelming. I don't get enough time in the round to look for it. And sometimes I look for it, I don't have the items found. So I recommend look at this table once you have a bit of knowledge of the game, and this can guide you further. But what I want to show you guys is, I want to show you guys something else. So here we have a website which allows us to combine different items. Those are the 9 items I mentioned earlier. Here we're going to look at specific items, because it's a little too overwhelming if you look at the whole item set. And this website is pretty helpful too. You can say, hey, I have a sword. I can build anything with this sword. So I highlight together. So a sword with the item. This is what I get. But I often find is you can't build whatever items you find because you're not planning for them. So let's plan for a few items. At the start of the round, in the carousel, people often go for the spatula. People often go for the sword and the staff. And sometimes they don't even go for the sword, they go for the staff and spatula. Let's have a look at what they can combine into. Firstly, spatula allows you to make special alliances, or the synergies. You can be an assassin, you can be a blade master, you can be a mage. When is spatula mostly useful? Spatula is mostly useful in terms of a mage comp. It is useful in Force of Nature because you just get a +1. It can also be useful in terms of a blade master. Those are the top popularities for spatula. Other than that, you can go for assassins to complement into 3 or 6 assassins, but I wouldn't recommend 6 assassins because you can easily counter it right now by Phantom Dancer. So let me show you Phantom Dancer and why does it counter us in terms of assassins. Where's Phantom Dancer? It goes into armor. There. Phantom Dancer allows the wearer to dodge all critical attacks. A unit will dodge any critical attack at 25% chance, because having this item, most units that is attacking you have a 25% critical chance, and assassins have even more critical chance. That means they're actually missing lots of attacks. Because of that, most people don't build into 6 assassins, and we don't see that many Gusto Blade used, or the Ghost Blade. So the best pickup for the spatula is when you play Blade Master, use the Blade Master on the Nocturne. That's the best item for the assassin Blade Master into him. Or you can go mages. You can go with 3 mages into any can summon double bear, or just another unit you can double cast. I tried Mage Cap with Volibear. It works at the start of the game. In the late game, I found him to 3-star. It did not work that well. So try for some double casting mages. That's pretty good. You can also do Inferno with Singed. Singed will also do damage over time, and this also adds his spell power and also allow him to do more damage. But I would recommend to go to Molos before the Inferno. We'll touch on that as well. So Force of Nature is always good. We'll share a few of the tips for the following items too. The second top priority items people tend to pick in carousel and plan the build is with the needlessly large rod. We'll call it rod here. With rod, there's a few very good items. The first one, Rabadon's death cap gives you 75 increase of spell damage, and also more spell damage percentage. It's a solid item for any mage casters, but you do want to keep in mind, a staff is very variable. The staff is one of the items that allows you to counter for mages. It allows you to counter for healings, for mages or even any spellcaster. It can be an Nasus with his Burning Fire, it can be Zara with her Summoning Plants, those are really good. So, Mononomicon is an item that burns the enemy for 20% of the max health over 10 seconds and prevents healing. This is incredibly strong, one of the strongest items in the game. You often see Renekton build this item as well, and people counter him with this item too. So the top priority is getting the rod because it's easier to get the belt. Second to the Mononomicon, which can be built on almost all the AoE spammers with casters, you can look towards the Gusso Blade. The Gusso Rage Blade allows you to stack attack speed. This is nerfed to 4% now, but it's still very powerful. Each time you attack, you stack attack speed. And if you have any range unit that wants to attack, or if you have someone like Olaf or maybe Assassins or Blade Master, you can quickly stack up more attack speed and become an unstoppable force. Add that with lifesteal or any defensive item with Phantom Dancer, it can be very powerful. So how do you want to build is, you get the Needless Light Rod, you can go double rod for death cap for more damage, go for attack speed, you can go for the Mononomicon, or sometimes you can go for the Luden's Echo. The Luden's Echo allows you to have more mana, have more spell damage, and each time you cast a spell, you also do splash damage with spell power. This is very strong with Kog'Maw because he's a predator and he can execute units. So if you get one Luden's Echo and get a death cap or Kog'Maw, you actually do a lot more damage. Sometimes people combine those two multiple times, so 2 Echo means double damage, and 1 death cap means 70% more damage. So I would recommend Echo for Cog. You go for any attack speed needing heroes for the Rage Blade. Best one will be Olaf or any of the Blade Master or Assassin, that'd be really good. Say the tier 4, tier 3 Assassins into Golden if you can. Anything that counters healing is a default. You definitely need a healing counter, so that's why people go for Molo. Now, after the staff, there's 2 recommendations from my good friend and I on the top 100 in the Europe server right now. So one is to go for armor, one is to go for the sword. With armor, you have a variety of choices. All the builds right now uses armor because they want the Phantom Dancer. Phantom Dancer counters assassins. This is likely going to be nerfed in the upcoming patch in about 4 or 5 days time. But before that, this is a very powerful item. And yeah, I can't stress enough how strong it is. Followed by that, the next pickup will be Iceborne Gunnets. This allows you to have more evasions and just slows area in effect. And this is very powerful in the Cloud map. Cloud have a natural dodge, and with this dodge, you're looking at 40% to slow enemy continuously. Very strong item in the early game to the mid game. After that, we can look at Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel can be used to revive a Zed, and Zed is a very strong late game Exodia powerful unit. What you want to build with Zed is get a Guardian Angel, and followed by Guardian Angel, you can get a Redemption. With those two, he's almost maxed out in some good survivability and mana gain. Then, what you can do is, you can build the last item for more mana gain or defensively. We'll touch on that very soon. So the 3 good pickup here, we'll be looking at Phantom Dancer, Iceborne Gunnets, and also Guardian Angel for most units. The other ones can be useful. Let's say if you have a range unit or one with a really good attack speed, you can go for the Swordbreaker. You can go for the red buff for the Berserkers, which goes on the unhit effect, or maybe just Sylvia. She's really good with that as well. Frozen Heart is optional because you have to be next to them, and also this does take away one of the tier, which is very useful for most casters. Let's go to the next one. So we spoke about the BF Sword, and with the BF Sword, it's a great damage item, but right now the combination for BF Sword is slightly limited. The Bloodthirster is countered by model because it prevents healing. You can't heal that much. Well, you can't heal at all if it attacks you, if it gets the spells onto you. So only go for Bloodthirster unless it's a hyper carry, it needs lifesteal, and you don't have an innate lifesteal. Nocturne has an innate lifesteal, and also Olaf has a bit of lifesteal. Olaf can use more lifesteal though. This also prevents a bit of magic. So this is okay, but I would recommend going for the Guardian Angel sorry, actually, yeah, Guardian Angel with the armor, because we talked about that earlier. We can also go with the Spear of Sojourn, because if you have some good attack speed, it can give you more mana gain, and this during turn means more spells are casted. And one correction for N9 is the models now reduce healing by 80%, not 100%, so this is a bit out of date here. So if you go for the Spear of Sojourn, each time you attack, you regain 18% of your mana. If you have 2 of those, you get 36% of your mana. So into 3 attacks, you get to cast again. So this is a very powerful item if you stack multiples of those. But keep in mind, you can also make double tier. This is not bad as well, depending on how you cast or how fast you attack. Other than that, we can look for Hex tag for the overall healing if you require a bit of healing and you also cast spells. And another item that's countered by the other items is Infinity Edge. Keep in mind, same as the Phantom Dancer that counters the assassins with crits, the Infinity Edge gives you critical chances and 20% of that by that. So you'll be critting at 40% chance without assassins. And if you happen to be hitting a person with Phantom Dancer, you'll be massively countered. It is a very good, powerful item for attack damage, but it's not recommended if the enemy has Phantom Dancers. So you want to double check if you make this one. Let's have a look. There's some other good items too. Let's touch on the tier first. We talk about those two. The Echo, and we talk about the Spear over here. This is a really interesting item. Hand of Justice will allow you to gain 50 life each time you attack, or you deal 50% more damage overall. This can be amplified if you go for the Redundance Death Cap. So this goes 75, you times that by 50, you times that by something else. It hits for 3k. I have had it once on my 3-star unit with the Shadow. So this is a really good item. It's a standard item overall, because unless you're Shinjet, you don't attack. You don't benefit from normal attacking. Every other unit can benefit a bit from normal attacking, but it's a damage factor that's really big. So it's like 50% of chance unit hit for harder, and that's like 50-50. So, you know, it's not bad. At the start, I thought Static Shift is really good. It still can be good, but it does have a downside. It's that it's situational, and it's very good early game, but it does fall off later stage of the game. What it doesn't fall off is if you run this one with a Predator, let's say Cogmire especially, if he does lightning onto any unit and they're below 25, they instantly dies. So similar to the Echo for Cogmire, if you run Predators over here, it also allows you to splash and have a chance of instantly killing an enemy. But if you comparison, it's better to go for Echo instead of the Static Shift for higher damage and also more spell gain. The Seraphim's Embrace is a really good mana item. Not only you start with the 40 mana, you also get 20 mana right after you cast. And if you're someone that casts multiple times like Israel, this can be very powerful. And you can even run this on mages especially. Get 1 cast and 2 casts very fast, and you have a chance to double cast. There's so many good items to be made with the tier here as well. So we talk about Frozen Heart. It's a slightly situational item, but Redemption is really good. For 2 reasons. If you run a tanky team, and if they survive while they're below 30% HP, let's say if you're going for a Thresh or maybe someone who's tanky enough like Tatik, if you survive, everyone gets healed by 1200 HP. That's pretty much a full 2-star HP unit. And on top of that, Redemption is one of the crucial items for Zed. If you're building to Zed, you want the Guardian Angel and Redemption. Hush is okay, slightly situational, because, you know, you stop mana gain, and, well, the champion, you know, can't cast spells, but you do have to attack fast and attack multiple units. So you want to combine this with a good attacking hero like Sylvia, or maybe someone with the multi-attacks and on-hit effects. Maybe Olaf with a Berserker can work. Berserkers can benefit from this one. And yes, you do want the double casting mages if you can. That's one of the best ones for mages if you go for this part. Next up, we covered quite a few, so we have a few left. And by the way guys, if I miss an item, it's because in the current meta they're not powerful enough or strong enough to be used for the components. There's better choices for its components, that's why. So we talk about having on-hit effects. The Renan's Hurricane is a really good item that gives you on-hit effects. It allows you to mirror your attack and also the damage is less, but you do hit more units. So this is when you can consider something with an unhit effect, like the hash or the disarm, which is really good. On top of that, this bow is usually made into the Phantom Dancer and into the Crucial Blade. So you already have 3 of the really good items. On top of that, you can go Blade Masters here. The other items can be situational, but most of the time they're not that strong. Ooh, let's see, we have 2 more to go. We have the Cloak on the second last item over here. The Cloak has a good variety of items, but the 2 we'll be focused on is Zephyr and also the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw may be nerfed in the future, but right now it's very powerful. It gives a unit 50% reduction to magic. On top of that, a bunch of magic reduction. So you'll always be almost magically invulnerable for this unit, especially a very strong 3-star golden unit like the Renekton, or even for 2-star Shinjin or Zed. So this is a really good item against mages, and if you have a hyper carry, definitely consider saving 1 spot for a defensive item. 2 really good defensive items in this meta. One is the Dragon Claw, one is Phantom Dancer. Often I see people running 3 carry items at attack speed, lifesteal, this and that, and the carry just dies because it's not protected. So definitely consider a bit of protection. So 2 offensive, 1 defensive is the best way to go. Other than that, let's look at Zephyr. Zephyr is like an instantly hex. It is no longer banishing enemies for 6 seconds, it's for 4 seconds now, and you do want to position your unit with the Zephyr. It mirrors on the enemy team with a diagonal course, so if you position correctly, you can catch a golden enemy at 3-star level and disable them for 4 seconds, which can be massive. Keep in mind, you cannot disable Shinjin, that's for sure. I've tried that before, it doesn't work. So you can try to disable Zed, which is a big unit, and also try to disable any of the golden units. But I'll recommend going for Zephyr if you don't need the Dragon Claw, and also if you don't need the belt for Mononomicon, that is. Overall, nothing too special here. The Ionic Spark is also an interesting item. You can run on the Predators for a tank Predator. The spark damage can instantly kill enemies under 250, not 200, under 25% HP. This also works wonderfully well with Zed, as his clones zaps people to death, because each of the clone was zapped once. But there's one thing about Zed though, because he only has 3 item spots. You can't be too greedy with those items. We'll touch on him last. This is the last item we'll touch on, which is the gloves. The glove is a very situational item. It has some great combinations. Let's say if you're going for a Berserker, which I wouldn't recommend unless you have multiple unhit effects. The best item for the glove in the early or even in the late stage of the game is Thief's Glove, because it's one item that gives you like 3 items. How it works is a unit with a Thief's Glove must have no item slots on its inventory. Having a Thief's Glove, you cannot add any items to it because it gets 2 random items at the start of the rounds, and this gives you a chance that has tier 1 up to tier 4 items. How it works is, the higher level you are in the game, the more units you can put on the board, the higher rates of you getting a high tier item. At the start, if you get a tier 1 item, it's those items. Tier 2, tier 3, you start to get some of those items in the game. So, the higher level you are, the more you benefit. But even at the start, you get good stats for 3 items on a particular unit. That can be a unit that's not very item dependent, that's also a 3-star, really tanky, or really do some damage, but not the core unit. So this is a really good item at the start if you can get it. We talk about the Hand of Justice. Let's look at the Jeweled Garnets here. You can crit with your spells, and keep in mind, you have 25% crit. With this item, you have 45% crits. If enemy does not have Phantom Dancer, you can destroy them with this item on your mage. Someone like Brand, someone like, Annie can do a lot of damage too. Or anyone that does magical damage. The downside is, if they have Phantom Dancer, they will not dodge spell damage. So it can backfire. Make sure you double check if anyone have that Phantom Dancer. And yes, there will be a nerf to Phantom Dancer that's to come, so this item might see a rise. Lastly, this is a very interesting item. I'll show you guys this one. The Trap Cloud allows you to have a spell shield at the start of the combat. Anyone that breaks a shield will give a 4 second stun to them. This is only once, but it will protect you for one, direct target spell. I often see this to be used on a unit that kind of wants to survive or wants to do damage, say a carry or say someone like injured, and also the 4-second stun is pretty big. It's almost like a free Zephyr, but in terms of a defensive capacity. So consider this item when you don't have any other choices, definitely useful. Now I mentioned about item for Zed. I'll be posting Zed videos first as well. As a special bonus, let's look at some of the Zed items. First one is Guardian Angel. Zed can revive, have more chance of summoning clones, and the clones can revive too, and this repeats. After that, let's look into Redemption. Where did Redemption go? Redemption... There you go. So, followed by that, Redemption allows you to heal a massive AoE. Now if Zed is reviving and Redemption cast, it does not heal the Redemption Zed. This used to be broken, but now it's fixed. So, because of that, you heal all the other images, and when the image gets to 30%, this repeats. So Zed becomes a virus, like a cancer, you can't stop him. And this is very powerful. So those two are the default items for Zed. Other than that, you can look for some situational items. Those items will come into mana gain. Spear of Sojourn is pretty good. Zed attacks pretty fast, and this benefit for him to be casting more spells. And followed by that, we'll look at defensive item for Zed. A Dragon Claw is good. Phantom Dancer is not bad. The Bear Claw is surprisingly effective if you have nothing else to put on him. And other than that, just, Ionic Spark can work on Zed for more zapping. And, well, anything that gives you mana again is great on Zed. So consider those paths if you have nothing else to go on Zed. So this concludes this particular item patch guide. I wish I can do more, editing and, analytical background, but due to limited technology, I can only talk about those. But hopefully you guys see some insights and you see where I'm leading. This leads to builds. Next time we're going to look at builds. Because you know what items to look for in carousel and what items to save up for, you can go further with a better build. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching this guide.